Hey guys, tonight we are stepping back in time, not as a legionary, a senator, or a grand emperor, but as something far more conspicuous and, perhaps, far more dangerous, a person who is just a little too beautiful for their own good in ancient Rome. This isn't a story of grand battles, but of quiet wars fought with glances, whispers, and impossibly high beauty standards. Honestly, your chances of a peaceful life in this scenario might be lower than a gladiator's on his first day. It's a different kind of Colosseum, and the lions are wearing to gas. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, drop me a comment and let me know what city you're listening from, and what time it is for you. It's always a treat to see where our little history community is spread out across the globe. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's seize into tonight's journey together. The carriage you've been rattling in for what feels like an eternity finally lurches to a halt. The dust, a constant companion on the final leg of your journey along the Via Appia, settles in a thick, golden haze in the afternoon sun. Your servant, a quiet man with weary eyes, slides open the door, and the full, unfiltered essence of Rome hits you like a physical wave. It's a sound, a smell, a presence. The air is a cocktail of scents, the sharp tang of baked bread from a nearby P.I.S. dry and UM, the earthy smell of livestock, the faint, sweet scent of cheap wine spilled on stone, and an underlying, pervasive odor of a million people living in close quarters. It's overwhelming, but it's the smell of life, the smell of the center of the world. You gather yourself, your finest traveling tunic feeling a little crumpled, and you step down onto the hard, uneven basalt stones of a Roman road. And that's when it happens. It's not one person, it's a ripple. The baker, his hands and arms dusted white with flour, stops kneading dough in his open front shop to stare. A pair of off-duty legionaries, their armor swapped for simple tunics, fall silent mid-laugh, their heads turning in unison, from a passing litter, carried on the shoulders of four sweating slaves. The curtain is pulled back just an inch, and you see the dark, intensely curious eyes of a matron peering out. You're no stranger to admiring glances, but this is different. This is a Roman gaze. It's direct, unashamed, and lingering. It's a look that doesn't just see you, it assesses you. It values you. It places you in the brief moment it takes for you to walk from the carriage to the doorway of the modest lodging that has been arranged for you. You feel as though you've been weighed and measured by 100 different merchants. You are a curiosity, a rare bird that has just landed in a square full of pigeons. Beneath the chorus of human chatter, the sharp, percussive sounds of Latin mixing with the softer tones of Greek and the guttural speech of merchants from Gaul and Germany, you notice a strange quiet. It's the absence of rumbling wheels. This is because you've arrived during the day, and an old law, first put forth by Julius Caesar, still bans most wheeled carts from the city center during daylight hours. It was an ancient solution to a problem we think is so modern: traffic gridlock. So the sounds you hear are purely human and animal. The shuffling of 1,000 sandals on stone, the braying of a donkey, the shouts of a vendor selling roasted chickpeas. You are one face in a crowd of hundreds of thousands, maybe even a million. The exact number is something historians still get heated about at academic conferences, endlessly debating census fragments and the city's capacity to feed itself. To you, it just feels like everyone. And for a moment, they all seem to be looking in your direction. Your arrival has created a small, temporary vortex in the relentless river of Roman life. As you duck into the relative darkness of the doorway, you catch a final glimpse of the street. Your eyes drift to an open-air palestra, a small exercise yard, where a few women are practicing with light weights. They wear simple bands of cloth wrapped tightly around their chests, a sort of protosports brock, Baldestrap. It's a strangely intimate and functional sight in the middle of this grand, chaotic city. A reminder that underneath the two gas and the posturing, these are all just people. But as the heavy wooden door closes behind you, shutting out the noise and the light, the feeling of those eyes remains. It tingles on your skin. You came to Rome seeking a new life, perhaps opportunity or excitement. But in these first few moments, you've learned a crucial, unnerving lesson. In this city, your face, your form, the very thing that makes you, it doesn't just belong to you. It belongs to the street. It belongs to the crowd. This isn't just a city, it's a stage. And whether you wanted it or not, you've just been pushed into the spotlight. The heavy wooden door thuds shut, and the world outside is reduced to a dull, distant roar. The quiet inside is a relief, but it's a thin blanket. The memory of those stairs is still imprinted on the back of your eyelids. You take a slow, deep breath, tasting the dust in the air, and turn to survey your temporary home. It's a simple room, functional, with a sturdy bed, a wooden chest for your belongings, and a small table with a jug of water. Your servant, ever silent, is already moving, unlatching the straps on your luggage with practiced efficiency. On the wall hangs a small, polished bronze mirror, its surface slightly warped and cloudy. It's nothing like the silver mirrors of the truly wealthy, but it's enough. You walk towards it, drawn by an almost morbid curiosity. You need to see what they saw. Leading in, your reflection emerges from the coppery depths, hazy and soft-focused. And now, in the quiet of this room, you begin to understand the anatomy of your supposed beauty, not as a whole, but as a collection of highly valued and highly specific Roman assets. First, your hair. It's not the deep, glossy black or rich brown so common in this part of the world. It possesses a lighter, sunnier hue, perhaps a warm honey blonde or a fiery copper red. To a Roman, this is exotic. It whispers of distant, misty lands to the north, of Gallic princesses or Germanic priestesses. Roman women of high status spend fortunes on crude dyes, some made from a foul-smelling concoction of goat fat and beechwood ash, or on expensive wigs crafted from the hair of captive women, all to achieve the color that you possess naturally. Your hair isn't just hair, it's a statement of rarity. Then there's your skin. You have the pale, smooth complexion that screams a life lived indoors, away from the harsh Mediterranean sun. It's a walking billboard that says you've never had to toil in a field or walk for miles to a market. It signifies luxury, leisure, and status. Ladies in Rome go to great lengths for this look, dusting their faces with white chalk or, more dangerously, with powders containing white lead, slowly poisoning themselves for the sake of a fashionable pallor. Yours requires no such artifice, which makes it all the more enviable. You trace the line of your nose in the reflection. It's straight, with a high bridge, the kind of profile they carve onto cameos and coins. It's what they call a noble nose, a feature believed to signify good breeding and a strong character. It has nothing to do with your actual character, of course, but in Rome, appearances build their own irrefutable logic. Your eyes, large and clear, are framed by dark lashes, another point of focus in a culture that valued a direct, expressive gaze. They used kohl, a dark powder made from soot or finely ground antimony, to accentuate this very feature. You are, feature by feature, a living, breathing embodiment of the poet Ovid's checklist for feminine allure. They will not leave you in peace. A quiet voice says from behind you, "It's your servant," now standing by the open chest, a folded tunic in hand. A face like yours is a conversation piece in this city. It is a poem, and everyone will want to be the one who recites it. You turn from the mirror. It's just a face. In your old home, perhaps, he says, his expression grim. Here, it is a key. It can open doors to the Palatine Hill. It can also lock you in a golden cage. He pauses, pulling a small clay pot from your luggage. We will need to be careful. The potions they sell for beauty here, they are as strange as they are famous. I've heard that the wealthiest matrons will pay a fortune for a tiny vial of sweat scraped from the skin of a victorious gladiator. They believe it brings a youthful glow. The thought is so bizarre it's almost funny, but you don't laugh. Gladiator sweat. A cosmetic born of violence, sold as a luxury. It's a perfect, unsettling metaphor for this city. The academic part of your mind might note that historians are still in disagreement about how widespread these elite beauty standards really were. Did the fishmonger's wife really care if her nose was noble? Or was this obsession confined to the 1% living in their opulent, frescoed villas? But for you, right now, that debate is terrifyingly irrelevant. You are in the heart of that 1%'s world, and you match their ideal perfectly. You are a commodity, not a person, but a collection of features. Your hair, your skin, your profile, each is a separate item on an auction block you never agreed to stand on. The mirror on the wall no longer shows you your own face. It shows you a mask that Rome has placed upon you, a mask of impossible perfection that you are now expected to wear at all times. The danger isn't just that people find you beautiful, it's that they find you valuable in a very specific, transactional way. And in a city built on transactions, everything and everyone has a price. The first rays of Roman suns slice through the single, high window of your room, painting a stripe of dusty gold on the far wall. Morning in the city doesn't arrive quietly, it crashes in. The ban on wheeled carts is lifted before dawn, and you're awoken by the rumbling squeal of iron-rimmed wheels on stone, a sound like a groaning beast. It's the city's heartbeat starting up again, insistent and loud. For you, however, the day begins not with the sounds of the city, but with the quiet, methodical ritual of preparation. Today, you are to be formally presented to the family hosting you, distant relatives with a foothold in Roman society, and your appearance must be flawless. Your beauty, you're beginning to learn, is not an effortless state of being. It's a full-time job. Your servant has already been busy, laying out an array of small clay pots, glass vials, and bronze tools on the table. It looks less like a lady's dressing table and more like an alchemist's workbench. This is the arsenal required to maintain the perfect Roman look. The process begins with your hair. If you were a Roman matron, this would involve a team of specialized slaves called ornattrices, or hairdressers, who would spend hours heating curling irons and hot ashen, weaving intricate braids into towering, elaborate styles that were all the rage in certain imperial periods. Some of these styles were so complex, historians debate whether the statues depicting them were exaggerating, or if women really spent half their day sitting still. For you, it's simpler but no less meticulous. Your hair is your prize feature, so it's washed with a soft soap made from olive oil and lye, then rinsed with water scented with rosemary. A fine-toothed comb, carved from bone, is used to tease out every tangle until it shines. It's then styled simply, to emphasize its natural color and texture, a calculated move to look effortlessly perfect, which of course requires a great deal of effort. Next comes the face. The foundation is a pale paste. While the wealthy might use the dangerous lead-based C. erusa, you have a safer, but still cloying, mixture of fine wheat starch and a honey-based cream. It's cool on your skin, but it feels like a mask, hiding your own complexion under a veneer of fashionable pallor. You feel a flicker of resentment. You are covering your own healthy skin, which is naturally pale, with powder to achieve an even more artificial paleness. It's the logic of cosmetics enhancing a feature until it no longer looks real. Then, the details. A tiny brush is used to apply a touch of reed ochre to your cheeks and lips. The goal isn't a bold splash of color, but a subtle, healthy-looking flush, the kind of blush a young girl might have after a brisk walk. It's the no-makeup look, 2,000 years before it became a marketing slogan. Your eyebrows are darkened slightly with soot mixed with a little oil, and your eyelashes are touched with the same kohl that lines your eyes, making them appear larger and more luminous. The final, and perhaps strangest, Touch is a beauty mark. Your servant takes a tiny pair of bronze tweezers and applies a small, circular patch of black silica, SPL aneum to your cheek, just below your eye. These artificial moles were incredibly fashionable, used to draw attention to a particular feature or cover a minor blemish. They came in all shapes, from simple circles to tiny crescents. It feels absurd, adding an imperfection to a face that is being celebrated for its perfection. As you sit there, being painted and prodded, you feel a growing sense of detachment. The face staring back at you from the bronze mirror is yours, but it's also a construct, a piece of artifice. It belongs to the trends and expectations of this city. You are a canvas, and Rome is the artist. You think about the common people you saw in the street yesterday. The baker with flour in his eyebrows, the legionaries with sun-creased faces. Their faces were their own, marked by their lives, their work, their experiences. Yours is being painstakingly erased and redrawn to fit an ideal. There, your servant says, stepping back to admire his work, ready for the Caesars. The comment is meant to be a compliment, but it sends a small shiver down your spine. You're not just preparing to meet some distant cousins. You're preparing to be seen. You are putting on your armor, but unlike a legionary's armor, which is designed to protect, yours is designed to attract. It's a beautiful, shimmering target. You stand up. The cool, starchy feeling of the powder on your face a constant reminder of your role. You catch sight of a small, forgotten detail from your preparations upon a stone. It's used for smoothing rough skin, of course, but it was also the Roman equivalent of a razor, used by both men and women to remove unwanted body hair. The Roman obsession with smoothness was absolute. A stray hair on a leg or under an arm would be seen as rustic, almost barbaric. For a woman of your standing, it's another small, invisible tyranny, another box to be ticked on the long list of what it takes to be considered beautiful. The sheer exhaustion of it all is beginning to settle in, a quiet weight in your chest. The sun is barely over the rooftops, and you're already tired. Dressed in a stole of fine, snow-white linen that drapes over a softer tunic beneath, you feel less like you're wearing clothes and more like you're wrapped in a statement. The fabric is light, but the weight of expectation is heavy. Your host's home is not a simple lodging but a proper domus, a townhouse tucked away from the main thoroughfares, its blank outer walls giving no hint of the life within. You pass through a narrow entryway. The you see, yes, and suddenly, you are in another world. The noise of the street vanishes, replaced by the gentle splash of a fountain in the central courtyard. The atrium. Sunlight streams down from the opening in the roof. The calm pale UVIUM, illuminating a shallow pool. The ample UVIUM, set in the floor below to catch the rainwater. The air is cool and smells of damp earth and blooming flowers. The walls are covered in vibrant frescoes, mythological scenes, intricate geometric patterns, and trompe-l'oeil paintings of idyllic landscapes that make the rooms feel larger than they are. This is the stage for your debut. Your host, a portly man named Gaius, and his wife, Lycaenia, a woman with a severe hairstyle and shrewd eyes, greet you with the practiced, formal warmth of the upper class. They inspect you from head to toe, their smiles not quite reaching their eyes. You are an exotic new addition to their household, and they are clearly assessing your value. Will you be a credit to their family? Nay, may useful connection a beautiful ornament for their dinner parties. My dear, the journey must have been exhausting, Lycaenia says, her voice smooth as polished marble, but it seems to have agreed with you. You are as radiant as the dawn. It's a compliment, but it feels like the opening line of a negotiation. You are led from the atrium into a larger, more formal courtyard, the peristyle, the colonnade garden that is the true heart of the home. Here, other members of the household and a few early guests are gathered, and as you step into the sunlight, it happens all over again. But this time it's more intimate, more concentrated. The conversation, a low hum of gossiping business, falters and then stops completely. Heads turn. It's the same series of reactions you saw on the street, but magnify. First, the open admiration from the younger men. Then, the much more complex, calculating looks from their fathers. Then finally, the most piercing gazes of all those of the other women. Their eyes, sharp and intelligent, sweep over you. They are not just looking at your face, they are deconstructing you. They are noting the quality of your linen, the simplicity of your hairstyle, the paleness of your skin. They are comparing, contrasting, and competing. You see a flicker of envy in one woman's eyes, a cool dismissal in another's. The matron, dripping with golden pearls, whispers something behind her and to her companion, and they both share a thin, conspiratorial smile. You have been in their presence for less than a minute, and you have already been judged, categorized, and placed within their social hierarchy. You are the shiny new thing, and therefore, you are a threat. You feel a desperate urge to fidget, to pull at a fold in your stole, but you force yourself to remain still, to adopt an air of serene confidence you do not feel. You recall a tidbit your servant told you that Roman women would sometimes hold small, smooth glass or amber bowls in their hands during social gatherings, just to keep them cool and give them something to do. The thought of such a simple, grounding object is deeply appealing right now. To break the silence, your host Gaius clears his throat. Come, let me introduce you. This is my young cousin, newly arrived from the provinces. Be kind to her. She is not yet accustomed to our Roman ways. His words are meant to be welcoming, but they have the opposite effect. They mark you as an outsider, a novelty. The crowd closes in, a soft-clothed, perfumed wave of polite inquiries. The questions are all the same, wrapped in pleasantries. Where are you from? Who is your family? How are you finding the city? But underneath the surface, you feel the real questions being asked. Are you wealthy? Are you connected? Are you available? You are being interviewed for a role you never applied for. Historians sometimes debate the level of freedom Roman women in the upper echelons of society actually had. While legally under the control of their fathers or husbands, many matriarchs wielded immense influence behind the scenes, managing vast households and influencing political alliances. Looking at the faces of the women in this garden, you have no doubt about their power. Their battlefield is the drawing room. Their weapons are whispers and alliances, and you have just walked into the middle of it. You offer polite, non-committal answers, smiling until your cheeks ache. You focus on a lizard sunning itself on the warm stone of the colonnade, a tiny, living creature blissfully unaware of the complex social drama unfolding around it. For the first time, you understand that your beauty is not a gift. It is a complication. It doesn't make things easier, it makes everything exquisitely, dangerously more complex. In this sunlit garden, surrounded by fragrant blossoms and the trappings of immense wealth, you have never felt more exposed. A few days pass in a blur of carefully managed appearances. You are paraded through the gardens, seated in prominent view in the atrium, and introduced to a seemingly endless stream of Gaius' associates. You are learning the rhythm of the domus, the quiet ballet of slaves polishing silver and arranging flowers, all to maintain an illusion of effortless grace. But you feel a constant, low-grade tension, the feeling of being perpetually on display. Your real introduction to the hazards of your position, however, comes not in the home, but in one of the most public and yet intimate spaces in all of Rome, the public baths. Lycaenia decides it is time for a proper outing. You are to accompany her to the baths of Agrippa, one of the grandest and most popular bathing complexes in the city. The very idea makes you anxious. It's a place of nudity, of unguardedness, but to refuse would be a social misstep, an admission of provincial fear. So, you go. The scale of the place is staggering. It's not just a bathish, it's a sprawling recreational center. There are libraries, art galleries, gardens for strolling, and palestres for exercise. The entrance fee is a pittance, a single quadra, an S. The smallest Roman coin, making it accessible to almost everyone. It's the great equalizer of Roman society, a place where a senator might find himself splashing in the same pool as a shopkeeper. The thought is both democratic and terrifying. You and Lycaonia, accompanied by a retinue of slaves carrying towels, oils, and strigils, the curved metal tools used for scraping skin, enter the women's section. The air is warm, steamy, and loud. The acoustics of the high, vaulted ceilings amplify every sound: the splash of water, the chatter of 100 conversations, the echoing slap of sandals on wet marble. You move through the prescribed sequence of rooms. First, the apod white area, the changing room, where you leave your clothes in small niches in the wall, under the watchful eye of a slave. Then, to the tepid areum, a warm room to acclimate your body. Its air filled with the scent of perfumed oils. Then, the coldarium, the hot room, where the heat is so intense it's hard to breathe. The air shimmers. The sweat beads on your skin instantly. Women of all ages and shapes are here, lounging on marble benches, gossiping, their bodies slick with oil. It's here, in the most exposed state imaginable, that the incident occurs. Haman enters the women's caldarium. This is not entirely shocking. While most large baths had separate sections, some smaller ones had different hours for men and women, and mixed bathing was a recurring social trend that came in undoubted fashion, often decried by moralists and, some historians argue, probably less common than sensationalist poets would have us believe. Still, his presence causes a stir. He is older, with the fleshy, self-satisfied look of a man accustomed to getting his way. He wears a gold ring with a large, intricately carved signet, a clear marker of his equestrian, or perhaps even senatorial, rank. His eyes, small and shrewd, scan the steamy room, passing over the other women with casual dismissal until they land on you. He stops. The silence that falls around you is different from the silence in the garden. It's heavier, charged with a mixture of fear and anticipation. He looks at you not with the simple admiration of a young man, but with the appraising eye of a collector who has just spotted a rare piece. You feel a desperate urge to cover yourself, but there is nothing to cover yourself with. You are trapped in the heat, in your own skin. He doesn't approach you directly. He speaks to Lycaonia, his voice a low rumble that cuts through the steam. Lycaonia, my dear, I see your household has a new masterpiece. A Grecian import. His gaze never leaves you. Lycaonia, to her credit, handles the situation with practiced coolness. Senator Flaccus, a pleasure. She is my cousin, from a fine old family. I Roman, through and through. Flaccus lets out a low chuckle. Of course. Well, you must both attend my villa for a dinner. This week, my steward will send the details. It's not a question, it's a command. An invitation from a man of his standing is not something one simply declines. It is a summons. He gives you one last, long look, a slight smile playing on his lips, and then turns and leaves as abruptly as he arrived. The moment he is gone, the chatter in the room erupts, 100 times louder than before. Everyone is now looking at you, but the looks have changed. The envy is still there, but now it's mixed with something else, a kind of pity, and a morbid, excited curiosity. You have been chosen. You have been marked. The senator's gaze was a public declaration of interest. As you finish your bath, moving to the frigidarium for a final, shocking plunge into cold water, you can't wash the feeling away. You scrub your skin with the strigil, scraping off the oil, sweat, and dirt, but you can't scrape off his look. You've just experienced firsthand how beauty works in the city. It doesn't ask for your permission. It doesn't care about your comfort. It draws attention you don't want, and it results in invitations that feel more like threats. The invitation to the senator's dinner party hangs in the air, a promise of fine food, powerful company, and an unknown danger. Your quiet life, if you ever had one, is officially over. The night of the dinner arrives with a sense of grim inevitability. Your stomach is a tight knot of anxiety. This isn't a friendly meal, it's a test, an audition. Lycaonia has coached you relentlessly on the etiquette of a Roman convivium, a formal banquet. The rules are numerous and arcane. Don't speak unless spoken to by a superior. Praise the host's food, but not too lavishly. Laugh at the jokes of powerful men, but not too loudly. It feels like memorizing the choreography for a dance where a single misstep could send you sprawling. Senator Flaccus lives in a sprawling villa on the Esquiline Hill, one of the 7 hills of Rome, a neighborhood favored by the wealthy. As your litter is carried through the gates, you see a home that dwarfs Gaius's townhouse. It's a palace of marble, mosaics, and meticulously sculpted gardens, all designed to broadcast one thing: power. You are met by a slave, the nomenclator, whose sole job is to know the name and status of every guest, announcing them as they arrive and seating them according to their rank, its social hierarchy made manifest. You are led into the triclinium, the dining room. The name comes from the 3 large couches, clinae, arranged in a U shape around the central table. This is where the famous Roman custom of reclining to eat takes place. The whole scene is bathed in the flickering orange light of dozens of oil lamps, casting long, dancing shadows on the walls, which are painted with dramatic scenes from the Trojan War. The air is thick with the scent of expensive perfume, roasting meat, and cloying, sweet incense. You are directed to your place on one of the couches. You are on the legionary, the lowest couch, appropriate for your status as a junior guest. Senator Flaccus, the host, occupies the place of honor on the lectus medius, the middle couch. You arrange yourself awkwardly on your left elbow, as you were taught. It's incredibly uncomfortable, a position designed for leisurely indulgence, not for a person whose nerves are stretched, taut as a bowstring. The guests are a gallery of Roman power. There are other senators, their faces impassive and hard to read, wealthy businessmen with shrewd, calculating eyes, a famous poet, currently in favor with the emperor, who looks profoundly bored. Their wives are there too, draped in jewels, their faces painted into masks of aristocratic indifference. They all watch you as you are seated, their gazes lingering just a moment too long. The meal begins. It's an assault on the senses. Course after course is brought in on massive silver platters. There are oysters fattened in special ponds, dormice stuffed with pork and pine, that's a famous delicacy that makes your stomach churn, peacock tongues, and whole roasted boar. The sheer excess is dizzying. Wine, heavily diluted with water in a large crater, flows freely, served by young, beautiful slave boys. There are no forks, you eat with your fingers or a small spoon, trying your best not to make a mess. A particularly odd detail you notice is that some guests have brought their own napkins, their mappa, and are not so subtly stuffing them with leftovers to take home. It's a common, if slightly tacky, practice called apopage or ETA. Throughout the meal, you feel Senator Flaccus's eyes on you. He doesn't address you directly at first, preferring to hold court, his booming voice dominating the conversation. He pontificates about politics, complains about the price of grain from Egypt, and tells a slightly off-color joke that everyone laughs at with perfect timing. You are a silent observer, a decorative object placed strategically in his line of sight. Finally, during a lull in the food parade, he turns his full attention to you. The entire room seems to go quiet. So, he says, his voice oily with wine, "Our provincial blossom, tell me, what do you think of Rome? Is it not the greatest city the gods ever graced with their favor?" Your mind races through Lycaonia IAS instructions. Be charming, but not too witty. Be modest, but not shy. It's an impossible balance. It is. Overwhelming. Senator, you say, your voice barely a whisper. The scale of it is beyond anything I could have imagined. Overwhelming, he bellows, laughing. My dear, you have seen nothing. He gestures around the room with a wine-slapped hand. This is the heart of the world. Power, wealth, ambition. Everything else is just scenery. He gives you a look that is both possessive and dismissive. A beautiful face like yours can find a comfortable place here, if it is properly guided. The thread is veiled, but it's there. He is offering you a position in his world, but the price is submission. You are an object he wishes to acquire. The other women on the couches watch you with a mixture of pity and estrange, cold satisfaction. They have all navigated these waters. They have all made their compromises. This is simply your turn. As the evening wears on, the atmosphere grows heavier. The wine flows, the talk gets louder, and a group of musicians and dancers is brought in for entertainment. You feel trapped. The butterfly pin to a board. Historians often debate the true nature of these banquets. Were they sophisticated intellectual gatherings, as some sources like Cicero might suggest? Or were they the debauched free-for-alls depicted by satirists like Petronius looking around this room? You suspect the truth is a messy, uncomfortable combination of both. It's a theater of power, fueled by food and wine, where reputations are made and broken between courses. Your only goal is to make it to the end of the night with your dignity and your future intact. The days following Senator Flaccus's dinner party are different. A subtle shift has occurred. Before, you were a novelty. Now, you are a prospect. When you walk through Gaius's peristyle garden, the conversations that stop are now followed by knowing glances. You have been publicly claimed, or at least targeted, by a powerful man. This does not grant you safety. It places you in a more specific, more visible kind of peril. You begin to understand something fundamental about Roman society, something that operates beneath the laws and the legions. Your beauty is not an abstract quality. It has been converted into a form of currency. It has a tangible value in the complex, ruthless marketplace of Roman social politics. It's a non-financial asset, as potent as a good family name or a letter of recommendation from the right person. This realization dawns on you not in a single moment of epiphany, but through a series of small, unsettling transactions. One morning, Gaius, your host, approaches you with an uncharacteristically warm smile. HES having some sort of business dispute, a minor legal squabble over a land deal. It's all very complicated, something to do with water rights. The magistrate hearing the preliminary case happens to be a close associate of Senator Flaccus. My dear, Gaius says, patting your arm, perhaps at the next social gathering, you could find a moment to mention to the good senator how much my family has enjoyed your stay, how supportive we have been. The request is casual, almost an afterthought, but the meaning is crystal clear. He wants you to use the senator's interest in you as leverage for his own benefit. Your presence in his house is no longer just a familial duty, it's an investment, an HES looking for a return. You are a tool, a beautifully crafted, socially acceptable crowbar to pry open doors he can't. You agree with a tight, forced smile, feeling a little grubby. A few days later, a finely dressed man arrives at the Domus. He is a poet, but not a famous one like the man at the dinner party. HES a hopeful, a street river, desperate to find a patron. He has composed an ode, a gushing, overwrought piece of verse dedicated to your celestial beauty and luminous grace. He recites it for you in the atrium, his voice trembling with ambition. He doesn't want money from you. He wants you to show the poem to Senator Flaccus, or better yet, to Lycaonia, who might mention it to the senator's wife. He is trying to use your beauty as a stepping stone, a way to get his work in front of a man who could fund his entire career. You are a conduit for the ambitions of others. Even slaves in the household begin to treat you differently. They are more deferential, quicker to bring you a cup of cooled water, or just a cushion behind your back. They see the web of power forming around you, and they understand, perhaps better than anyone, the importance of aligning with the person who has the master's ear, or in this case, his eye. Their deference isn't kindness, it's a strategic calculation. The most disturbing part of this is how quickly it becomes normal. You start to see every interaction as a transaction. Your smile becomes a payment for a small favor. Your polite conversation becomes a deposit in a bank of social capital. You are learning the language of this new economy, and it is exhausting. This transcational nature of beauty is a recurring theme in Roman literature. Poets like Propertius and Tibullus wrote endlessly about their beautiful, but often greedy, mistresses who demanded gifts and favors. Historians argue about whether these were accurate portrayals or just a convenient literary trope, a way for men to complain about the costs, literal and figurative, of their relationships. But from where you stand, it feels very, very real. Your very existence seems to demand payment from those around you. One afternoon, sitting in the garden, you watch a spider meticulously building its web in the corner of a column. Every strand is placed with purpose, creating a beautiful, intricate, and deadly trap. You feel a sudden, chilling kinship with the fly, buzzing obliviously nearby. You are at the center of a similar web, one woven not from silk, but from glances, whispers, and obligations. Senator Flaccus is the spider, but Gaius, the poet, even the slaves, they are all busy reinforcing the strands, each for their own reasons. And you are the prize, the bait, and the potential victim, all at once. You wonder about the cost of all this. What happens when your currency loses its value when a newer, more beautiful face arrives in Rome? The answer is terrifyingly simple. You become worthless. You are a speculative asset in a volatile market, and you have a sinking feeling that a crash is inevitable. Your beauty has opened doors, just as your servant predicted, but you're beginning to suspect that all those doors led to rooms from which there is no easy exit. The invitations continue to arrive, small scrolls of papiers delivered by swift-footed messengers. You are now a required ornament at the city's most exclusive gatherings. It is through these events that you are forced into the inner sanctum of Roman female society, the world of the matrons. These are not just wives, they are the dynastic glue of the Roman elite, the managers of immense household wealth, and the silent partners in their husbands' ambitions. And they do not like you. Their hostility is not open. It is never a direct confrontation. That would be uncivilized, common. Instead, it's a form of psychological warfare waged with breathtaking subtlety. It's the art of the backhanded compliment, the strategically placed whisper, the gesture of inclusion that is actually an act of exclusion. You experience it for the first time at a gathering in the gardens of Livi's villa on the Palatine Hill. Livia Drusilla, the wife of the Emperor Augustus, set the gold standard for a Roman matron dignified, influential, and ruthlessly protective of her family's power. The women who walk these gardens see themselves as her heirs. As you are introduced, a senator's wife, a woman named Cornelia with eyes as cold and hard as river stones, looks you up and down. "Ugh, the lovely cousin," she says, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "We have all heard so much about you. It must be so refreshing to see the city with such simple, provincial eyes." In one sentence, she has complimented your beauty, reminded everyone you are an outsider, and condescended to you completely. The other women around her offer tight, knowing smiles. They have 1,000 ways to make you feel small. They will cluster together in a tight circle, their backs forming a physical wall that you cannot penetrate. If you approach, the conversation will die, only to resume the moment you retreat. They discuss family connections you don't have, political scandals you don't understand, and the astronomical cost of a particular shade of purple dye that you could never afford. It is a masterclass in making someone feel utterly and completely alone in a crowded room. Their favorite weapon is concern. Though I see in you your own chaperone, He's a practitioner of this dark art. My dear, she'll say, pulling you aside, her face a mask of worry. I couldn't help but notice Senator Flaccus seemed distracted tonight. And did you see the way Cornelia was looking at you? You must be careful. A reputation is as fragile as a butterfly's wing. She is framing their collective animosity as your personal failure, placing the burden of their jealousy squarely on your shoulders. You are not the victim of their clique. You are the cause of the disruption. You learn to read the silent language of their fans. A sharp snap of a fan closing could be a signal of disapproval. A slow, languid wave could be a sign of boredom or dismissal. Historians can only guess at the intricacies of this nonverbal communication. But for you, it's a living language of menace. The whispers are the worst. You'll be walking down a colonnade and hear a snippet of conversation fade as you draw near. Far too simple for a man like the senator. Her family has no real standing. That ear color, can it possibly be natural? Each fragment is a tiny dart, coated in poison. They are trying to devalue your currency, to tear down the very thing that has made you a threat. They are defining you behind your back, creating a narrative of an unworthy, grasping outsider. One of the strangest and most telling episodes happens during a discussion about children. The matrons are complaining about tutors and discussing advantageous marriage matches for their sons and daughters. It is the core of their life's work, the continuation of the family line. One of them turns to you and asks, with feigned innocence, "And you? My dear, do you hope for a fine Roman marriage one day?" The question is a trap. If you say yes, you seem ambitious and presumptuous. If you say no, you seem strange and unnatural. The real message is clear: you are not one of us. You are a temporary distraction for our husbands, not a potential mother to a future generation of our class. You begin to notice the small, almost pathetic ways they try to compete. A woman who has never shown an interest in poetry will suddenly be able to quote Ovid. Another will appear at a party with a new, elaborate hairstyle that must have taken her slaves half the day to construct. They are fighting back on the only battlefield available to them. You are not just a rival for male attention, you are a living critique of their own status, their own beauty, their own carefully constructed lives. Your effortless beauty is an insult to their effortful maintenance. The existence of these powerful, competitive female social circles is well documented, but the sheer personal viciousness of it is something you could never have learned from a history scroll. It's a quiet, suffocating poison, and you are breathing it in every single day. You had hoped that the animosity of the matrons and the predatory interest of men like Senator Flaccus represented the peak of the danger you faced. You believed that if you could just navigate that treacherous social landscape, you might find a measure of peace. You were wrong. The true peril of being too beautiful in Rome was not about offending the powerful. It was about attracting the ultimate power. It happens on a day that feels deceptively ordinary. The emperor is holding a public religious ceremony at the temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus on the Capitoline Hill. It is a grand state affair, a piece of political theater designed to show the emperor as the pious father of his people. Caius and his family are, of course, in attendance, and you are with them, positioned in a crowd of senators and their families, all jostling for a view, all desperate to be seen by the imperial eye. The air is thick with the smoke of sacrificial incense and the low chanting of priests. You are more focused on keeping your balance on the uneven stone steps than on the ceremony itself. You are a small, insignificant figure in a vast sea of white to gas and colorful stalwarts, or so you think. The imperial procession is a spectacle of overwhelming grandeur. Allies he tours with their bundles of rods and axes, priests in their archaic robes, and then the imperial family itself, moving with a practiced, almost divine, slowness. At the center of it all is the emperor, or perhaps one of his designated heirs, a powerful son or nephew. It doesn't matter who he is. Precisely, he is the sun, and everyone else is a planet orbiting him. As the procession passes your section of the crowd, his gaze, which has been sweeping over the adoring faces with a look of regal boredom, suddenly stops. It snags on you, the way a hawk, soaring high above a field, suddenly spots a single flash of movement in the grass below. For a horrifying second, the entire, massive spectacle seems to grind to a halt. His eyes lock onto yours. It's not a leer, like Senator Flaccus. It's not a look of simple admiration. It is a look of pure, uncomplicated acquisition. It's the look a man gives to an object he has just decided he will own. He doesn't smile. He doesn't gesture. He just looks. And then he moves on. The procession continues. The moment is over in less than 5 seconds. But for everyone around you, the world has just tilted on its axis. Gaius, beside you, has gone pale. Lycia looks faint. Even Senator Flaccus, standing a few rows ahead, has seen it. You see his back stiffen. His prize, the object he was so carefully cultivating, has just been noticed by the one man in the world he cannot compete with. The whispers that erupt around you are no longer just catty or envious. They are now laced with fear. You are no longer just a beautiful woman. You are a potential imperial favorite, and that is the most dangerous thing a person can be. To be desired by the emperor is not a fairy tale. It is a death sentence in disguise. The history of Rome is littered with the stories of men and women who were elevated by imperial favor one day and destroyed by it the next. The emperor's attention is a scorching fire. It can warm you, or it can incinerate you, and the difference between the two is often nothing more than a passing whim. If the emperor desires you, you cannot say no. Your family cannot protect you. Other powerful men will abandon you, lest they be seen as your protectorate. Therefore, the emperor's rival. You see the immediate effect on Senator Flaccus. Later that day, a messenger arrives with a note. He regrets that due to a sudden illness, he will be unable to host any social gatherings for the foreseeable future. He is cutting you loose. Publicly, it's a move of pure self-preservation. He is signaling to the world, and more importantly to the palace, that he makes no claim on you. You are now adrift in the most dangerous waters imaginable. Historians debate the specifics of many imperial scandals. Did Emperor Tiberius really retreat to Capri for a life of debauchery? Was Messalina, the wife of Claudius, truly as rapacious as the male historians have heard? Painted her. The truth is often buried under layers of political propaganda. But the central, terrifying fact is undeniable. The emperor's power was, for all practical purposes, absolute. His personal desires could, and did, become matters of state. In the days that follow, a new kind of silence surrounds you. The invitations stop. The matrons no longer bother with their whispered insults. They simply avoid you, as if you are carrying a plague. You have become radioactive. You are no longer a player in the social game. You are the board itself, and a much more dangerous game is about to be played upon you. You sit in the quiet of the Domus, waiting for the summons that you know will come from the Palatine Hill. The waiting is the worst part. Every knock on the door, every approaching footstep, makes your heart leap into your throat. You have reached the final, terrifying level of this game, and you have no moves left to make. The silence from the Palatine Hill is a roaring vacuum, more terrifying than any direct summons. It leaves you in a state of suspended animation, a social pariah living in a house that has suddenly become a prison. Gaius and Lycia are courteous, but there's a new, palpable fear in their eyes. They are trapped with you, hostages to an imperial whim that has not yet been expressed. It's in this suffocating atmosphere of fear and uncertainty that a new, more insidious threat begins to surface. The whispers that once haunted the gardens of the elite now begin to seep out into the streets, twisting your story into something dark and supernatural. It begins subtly. You overhear two house slaves talking in hushed tones in the kitchen. One of them, a new girl from Syria, is telling the other about a goddess from her homeland, a deity of dangerous, all-consuming beauty. She gestures vaguely in your direction. The comparison is not meant to be a compliment, it's an expression of fear. Your beauty is becoming unnatural, uncanny. This is the moment your problem transcends social politics and enters the realm of superstition, a force that runs deeper and is far more unpredictable than senatorial ambition. For the average Roman, the world is saturated with divine forces, omens, and curses. Every river, every tree, every crossroads has its guardian spirit. The gods are not distant, abstract beings. They are active, and often petty, participants in daily life. A beauty as extreme as yours, especially one that has attracted the attention of the emperor, cannot simply be a matter of luck or genetics. It must have a source. A new narrative begins to take shape in the city as gossip mills. You didn't just arrive from the provinces, you were sent. Perhaps you are a devotee of a forbidden Eastern mystery cult, using love potions to ensnare powerful men, or maybe your beauty is a curse, a gift from a malevolent deity like Venus in one of her darker moods, designed to bring chaos and ruin to the great houses of Rome. You are no longer just a person, you are an omen. The evidence of this shift is unsettling. One morning, your servant finds a small, strange object left on the doorstep, a dead bird with its feet tied together by a single red thread. It's a classic piece of folk magic, an attempt to bind your influence or bring you bad luck. It's a message from the anonymous, fearful masses. Then comes the most chilling discovery of all. A friend of Gaius, a minor priest from one of the local temples, brings him a warning. A defix IOL, or cursed tablet, has been found. These were thin sheets of lead, common throughout the Roman world, upon which a person would scratch a curse against an enemy, a rival in business, a lover who spurned them, or a charioteer they wanted to see crash. They would then fold the lead, pierce it with a nail to bind the curse, and deposit it in a place considered close to the underworld, like a well, a spring, or a grave. The priest describes the tablet. It bears your name, or at least a crude description of you, the fair-haired woman of Gaius' house. The curse calls upon the spirits of the underworld to bind her limbs, her mind, her tongue, and to make her beauty rot and her charm fail before the eyes of powerful men. The tablet has been found in a cemetery on the edge of the city. The identity of the person who wrote it is a mystery. Was it a jealous matron, ace-perned admirer, or just a random citizen who sees you as a source of bad luck for the city? The anonymity is what makes it so terrifying. The hatred is no longer confined to the drawing rooms of the elite, it's out in the wild. The existence of these cursed tablets is a well-known archaeological fact, with thousands having been found from Britain to Egypt. They are a stark reminder of the anxieties and hatreds that simmered beneath the surface of Roman society. Historians still debate the efficacy people ascribed to them. Did they truly believe it would work, or was it simply a way to vent frustration for you? The debate is moot. Someone hates you enough to go through the ritual of writing out their malice and consigning it to the gods of the dead. You feel a profound sense of cosmic injustice. You have done nothing. You have sought no one's attention, yet you are being blamed for the reactions you inspire in others. You are a lightning rod, and now the people on the ground are cursing you for the storm. The fear of the emperor was a fear of a single, identifiable man. This is something far worse. It's the fear of a faceless, superstitious mob. Your beauty is no longer just a social problem, it's being framed as a form of witchcraft, a disruption of the natural and divine order. And in a world where a flight of birds or a clap of thunder could be interpreted as a message from the gods, being seen as a source of divine displeasure is the most dangerous reputation of all. In the midst of this escalating tension, a new complication arises, one that seems harmless, even flattering. At first, Gaius, ever the opportunist, had commissioned a portrait of you before the emperor's notice had rendered you untouchable. He had hired a well-known painter from the Greek quarter, a man renowned for his lifelike encaustic paintings, a technique using hot wax mixed with colored pigments. The portrait was intended to be a showpiece for Gaius's home. a way to boast of the prized beauty under his roof. Now, with you in social quarantine, the completed portrait is unveiled within the confines of the domus. The artist has done his work almost too well. Staring back at you from a polished wooden panel is a version of yourself that is both intimately familiar and unnervingly perfect. The painter has captured the exact shade of your hair, the curve of your neck, the light in your eyes, but he has also smoothed away any hint of the anxiety that now lies permanently behind your expression. He has painted the public version of you, the idealized construct that Rome has created. The woman in the portrait is serene, confident, and completely untroubled. She is a lie. The portrait is hung in the tablinum, the formal reception room or office off the atrium, where Gaius would meet his clients. It is strategically placed to be one of the first things a visitor sees upon entering the house, and though visitors are now few and far between, the portrait begins to take on a life of its own. News of the painting spreads. Art in Rome is a public affair, and the work of a famous painter is the subject of intense discussion and connoisseurship. People who would not dare visit the house now have a reason to ask for a brief audience with Gaius, purely on the pretext of viewing the new artwork. They come, they stare at the painting, they murmur their admiration, and they leave. You, the actual subject, are often hidden away in the peristyle. Hearing the muffled voices of the viewers, you have been replaced by your own image. The portrait does something you could never do its Hercules. Copies begin to appear, smaller, less expert versions on wood panels, crude sketches sold in the markets, and, most alarmingly, details of your face, your eyes. Your mouth start appearing as decorative motifs on luxury goods. A wealthy merchant commissions a silver hand mirror with a handle carved into a likeness of your profile. A mosaic artist incorporates a face that is unmistakably yours into a new floor for a rich client's villa. Your face is becoming a brand, a shorthand for elegance and desire. It is detached from you, the living, breathing, terrified person. This phenomenon of replicating the portraits of famous or beautiful individuals is a subject of some debate among historians. While imperial family portraits were widely disseminated for propaganda purposes, the extent to which private individuals became celebrities in this way is harder to prove. But, in your case, it feels undeniably real. You have lost control of your own likeness. This new fame is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it solidifies your status as the city's preeminent beauty. Your image is now the benchmark against which other women are measured. But on the other hand, it makes you even more of a target. Your face is everywhere, a constant reminder to the matrons of their perceived rival, a constant temptation to men, and a constant symbol to the superstitious of a disruptive for uninfluence. The portrait in the tablinum becomes a focal point for your anxiety. Sometimes, late at night when the house is quiet, you stand before it, lit only by a single oil lamp. The woman in the painting mocks you with her placid perfection. She is everything you are supposed to be, and nothing that you are. She will never age. She will never feel fear. She will never have a curse tablet written against her. She is immortal, and you are fragile and temporary. You feel a bizarre sense of rivalry with your own image. People are not interested in you. They are interested in her. They fall in love with the painting. They gossip about the painting. They covet the painting. You have become the living, flawed original of a famous masterpiece. And the masterpiece is winning. This separation between your true self and your public image is now complete. You are no longer a person who happens to be beautiful. You are a concept, an icon, an image endlessly reproduced and sold in the marketplace. And this fame, far from offering protection, only serves to amplify the whispers and the danger, making you a more prominent, more easily identifiable target for whatever comes next. Just as you begin to think that your fate is to be a lonely icon, waiting for a dreaded imperial summons, the political winds shift. A sudden border skirmish in Dacia, or a bout of illness within the imperial family the reasons are opaque to you distracts the emperor. The intense, focused beam of his attention moves elsewhere. The pressure from the Palatine Hill recedes, leaving a power vacuum around you, and into this vacuum rushes a new kind of suitor. The marriage brokers have returned. The fear of the emperor had scared off everyone, but with his attention diverted, you are once again considered a prize on the marriage market. But this is not a market for love or companionship. It is the Roman aristocracy's equivalent of a corporate merger. Marriage is a tool for consolidating wealth, forging political alliances, and securing a family's legacy. A wife was expected to bring a substantial dowry, a good family name, and, ideally, the ability to produce legitimate heirs. In your case, you bring a unique and potent asset, your famous beauty, which has now been magnified by its brush with imperial interest. The proposals start to arrive, delivered not with the passion of a lover, but with the cold calculation of a business negotiation. They are presented to Gaius, who has now enthusiastically reassumed his role as your guardian and de facto agent. He presents them to you in his tablinum, sitting beside your smiling, perfect portrait, as if discussing the sale of a prized horse. The suitors are a parade of Roman ambition. There is a young, up-and-coming lawyer from a good, but not great family. He doesn't have a vast fortune, but he has a sharp mind and a promising career. A marriage to you would give him the social cachet, the buzz, that he currently lacks. Your beauty would be the talk of the town, drawing influential people into his orbit. He is not proposing to you, he is proposing to your public relations value. Then there is the older, recently widowed senator from a very old, very respected patrician family. Their name is legendary, but their fortunes have been dwindling for generations. They have land, but they are cash poor. Your dowry, which Gaius has managed to cobble together, would be a welcome infusion of capital. But more than that, your vibrant, celebrated beauty would signal a revitalization of his tired, ancient family line. You would be a symbol of new life, a beautiful piece of art to hang on a crumbling family tree. The most aggressive suitor is a gruff, middle-aged military commander, newly wealthy from his campaigns in Gaul. He is what the old aristocrats would sneer at as a new man. He has money and influence, but he lacks the one thing he can't conquer on the battlefield class. He wants you for the same reason a man like him buys a villa filled with Greek statues and hires a philosopher to tutor his sons. You are an object of supreme cultural value. Possessing you would be the ultimate proof that he has arrived. You listen to these proposals with a sense of profound detachment. No one mentions your character, your thoughts, or what you might want from life. The discussions are about dowry size, political connections, and the number of slaves you would bring to the household. It is a terrifyingly dehumanizing process. You are a collection of assets on a balance sheet. The cold, hard reality of the Roman marriage market is something often discussed by historians, who analyze it in terms of law, property, and social strategy. They debate the different types of legal marriage cum marriage cum mano, where the wife passed into her husband's legal control, versus sine monumo, where she remained under her father's authority, which paradoxically often gave mature women more autonomy. But for you, the legal distinctions are academic. The emotional reality is that you are a prize to be won, a company to be acquired. You look at the faces of these men, or their representatives, and you try to imagine a life with them. A life of endless dinner parties, of managing a large household, of bearing children who would be seen as heirs to a dynasty, not as your sons and daughters. It is a life of immense privilege and profound emptiness. The choice, you are told, is yours, but it's an illusion of choice. Your real options are to pick which cage you want to live in: the lawyer's cage of ambition, the senator's cage of tradition, or the soldier's cage of crude power. Each proposal is a trap, sweetened with promises of security and status. You are at a crossroads, but all the roads seem to lead to the same destination in life, where you are loved for your face, valued for your connections, entrapped by your own legend. The sweet promise of a Roman marriage feels like the most dangerous proposition you have yet received. In the end, the decision is made for you, not by a formal agreement or heartfelt plea, but by a gesture of overwhelming, suffocating generosity. The military commander, the new man named Marcus, decides to bypass the delicate negotiations altogether. He understands a language far more direct than the subtle diplomacy of the old aristocracy, the language of the grand, irrefutable gift. One morning, a train of mules and servants arrives at Gaius' doorstep. They are led by a stern-faced steward who carries a set of wax tablets. He presents them to Gaius with a curt bow. The tablets are the deed to a small but elegant villa in the hills of Tivoli, a fashionable summer resort for the wealthy, not far from Rome. The villa comes complete with its own vineyard, a handful of slaves to maintain it, and, most ostentatiously, a small, caged nightingale praised for its beautiful song. The deed is made out in your name. It is a gift, not a dowry, not part of a marriage contract. A gift. The entire household gathers in the atrium to witness this spectacle. The arrival of the servants, the announcement of the gift, it's all a piece of public theater. Marcus is not just giving you a villa, he is making a public declaration of his wealth and his claim on you. Gaius is ecstatic. Aeneas is breathless. The villa in Tivoli, it's a staggering display of wealth and intent, but you feel a cold dread creep up your spine. A gift of this magnitude in Roman society is never just a gift. It is an obligation. It is a golden chain. To accept it is to indebt yourself to the giver in a way that is profound and inescapable. To refuse it would be a catastrophic insult, an act of public defiance that a man like Marcus would neither forgive nor forget. You are trapped. This practice of strategic gift-giving, or beneficium, was a cornerstone of Roman social and political life. The powerful man, a patron, would bestow favors, money, legal help, gifts on his clients, who would in turn owe him loyalty, political support, and public deference. It was a system of mutual, but fundamentally unequal, obligation. What Marcus has just done is to treat you not as a potential wife, but as a client he is binding to himself with a massive beneficium. Your servant, who has seen this kind of power play before, explains the brutal logic to you in a quiet moment away from the celebrating family. He has bought you, he says, his voice slow and grim, not like a slave at auction. He has bought your future. Every time you walk in that villa's garden, every grape you eat from its vineyard, you will be tasting his power. You are now his. The most insidious part of the gift is its thoughtfulness. He didn't just give you a pile of gold or a string of pearls. He gave you a retreat, a place of beauty and peace. He is signaling that he understands the pressures you've been under, that he can provide you with a sanctuary. He is positioning himself as your protector, your savior from the piranha pool of Roman society. But the sanctuary comes with a gatekeeper, and the gatekeeper is him. The nightingale in its ornate cage is a particularly cruel touch. As you look at the tiny bird, hopping from perch to perch, you see a perfect, heartbreaking metaphor for your own situation. It is beautiful, it is prized for its song, and it is utterly, completely captive. Its world is this gilded cage, and its purpose is to delight its owner. The debate about whether to accept is a sham. There is no real choice. Gaius and Aeneas are already making plans to visit your new villa. They see it as a victory for the entire family. You are forced to dictate a reply to Marcus, a carefully worded message of profound gratitude, written on a fresh wax tablet. As the stylus carves the letters into the dark wax, you feel like you are signing away your freedom. A few days later, a second, smaller gift arrives. This one is more personal. It's a single, exotic slave. A young woman from Egypt with quiet eyes and graceful hands, trained as a personal maid and masseuse. She is a luxury item, a sign of Marcus's worldliness and his concern for your personal comfort. But she is also a spy. Her loyalty is to him, her former master. She will report on your moods, your visitors, your conversations. The cage has just gotten smaller and more elegantly appointed. The gift is not a key to a new life, it is the lock on your old one. Life settles into a new, gilded routine. You are now unofficially betrothed to Marcus. The wedding is being planned, a grand affair that will be the talk of Rome. You divide your time between the stifling social obligations in the city and the serene, suffocating beauty of your new villa in Tivoli. It is during one of these trips to the countryside that you have an encounter that throws your entire existence into stark relief. You are out for a walk, accompanied by your new Egyptian maid, whose silent presence is a constant reminder of Marcus's ownership. You wander further than usual from the villa's grounds, following a dusty path that winds through olive groves. The air is clear and smells of pine and wild thyme. It is in this peaceful setting that you see them, a small procession of women, walking in single file. They are dressed in simple, archaic white robes, their heads covered by veils that are pulled low. They walk with a quiet dignity, their faces serene and unadorned. There is no makeup, no elaborate jewelry, no hint of the frantic fashionable churn of the city. As they draw nearer, you realize who they are. You have seen them before only from a distance. During public ceremonies, these are the Vestal Virgins. Their presence here is not unusual. The Vestals, while based in their temple in the Roman Forum, were an incredibly wealthy and independent institution, owning land and property throughout Italy. They might be here to inspect one of their agricultural estates. For a moment, your two worlds collide on this dusty path. You, the symbol of secular, fashionable, and dangerous beauty, and them, the symbols of sacred, eternal, and untouchable purity. The head of the procession, the Vestal, is Maxima. The chief Vestal is an older woman with a face of immense authority and calm. Her eyes, clear and perceptive, meet yours. She doesn't smile, but she gives a slow, deliberate nod of acknowledgement. It is not a gesture of warmth, but of recognition. A queen acknowledging another queen, from a rival, and perhaps superior kingdom. You stand aside to let them pass, your colorful, fashionable clothing feeling suddenly garish and absurd next to their stark white simplicity. You watch them walk away, their synchronized, steady pace a contrast to the nervous, hurried energy of the city, and you are struck by a profound, unsettling thought: they are the freest women in Rome. This is a concept so counterintuitive it almost makes you laugh. The Vestals lived a life of immense restriction. They were chosen as young girls, between the ages of 6 and 10, to serve the goddess Vesta for 30 years. For those 30 years, they were bound by a secret vow of chastity. The punishment for breaking this vow was horrific: to be buried alive in an underground chamber. A punishment so severe because it was forbidden to spill a Vestal's blood. And yet, within those rigid confines, they possessed a level of autonomy and privilege that was unheard of for other women. They were not under the legal control of a father or a husband. They could own property, write a will, and manage their own financial affairs. They had seats of honor at the games and public spectacles. Their person was sacrosanct. To injure a Vestal was a capital offense. A condemned man who happened to cross paths with a Vestal on his way to his execution was automatically pardoned. They possessed immense religious and moral authority. Historians continue to explore this paradox of the Vestals, a life of extreme limitation that yielded extreme freedom. They were pillars of the state, embodying the continuity and purity of Rome itself. Their sacred fire, which they tended in the Temple of Vesta, was believed to be directly linked to the city's survival. If it went out, it was a terrible omen. You think of your own life. You are adorned, celebrated, and desired, but you are a possession. Your marriage to Marcus will be a transaction. Your home is a gift that is also a debt. Your every move is watched. The Vestals, by sacrificing the conventional path of marriage and motherhood, had escaped the gilded cage that you are just entering. They had traded personal, physical intimacy for a different kind of power, public, sacred authority that no man could touch. As they disappear down the path, you are left with a feeling that is not quite envy, but a deep, aching sense of a road not taken. You could never be one of them. Your life, your very nature, has set you on a completely different course, but seeing them has given you a new perspective. It has shown you that there is a different kind of female power in this world, one that is not based on attracting the male gaze, but on deflecting it, a power that comes from service, not seduction, from sacred duty, not social maneuvering. The nightingale in its cage back at your villa suddenly seems like an even more potent symbol. You have been taught your whole life that beauty is a woman's greatest asset, but on a dusty road in Tivoli, you have just seen a group of women whose power comes from the complete and utter rejection of that idea. Then the revelation is as liberating as it is heartbreaking. You return to Rome for the season of games and festivals, a period of intense public activity that Marcus, as a rising public figure, must be seen at. He is your constant companion now, his presence a heavy cloak of ownership. He parades you at the races in the Circus Maximus, seats you in a prime location at the Colosseum, and hosts yet another series of lavish dinner parties. You are his most prized possession, and he displays you with the same pride he would a captured enemy standard. It is during this period that the political tide turns, and you find yourself swept up in a current you cannot control, about to be blamed for a crisis you have nothing to do with. News arrives from the northern frontier, from the dense, dark forests of Germania. A Roman legion, led by a popular and ambitious general named Drusus, has suffered a minor but humiliating defeat. It wasn't a catastrophe, but an unexpected setback in ambush, a supply line cut, a strategic retreat that looked too much like a rout, in a city obsessed with military victory. Any loss is a source of profound public anxiety and a political liability for those in power. The general, Drusus, happens to be a political rival of your fiancé, Marcus. They belong to different factions in the Senate, competing for influence, military commands, and, ultimately, the favor of the emperor. Marcus, seeing an opportunity, immediately goes on the political offensive, subtly criticizing Drusus's competence in conversations with other senators. But a direct attack is risky. A more effective strategy is to undermine the rival's character and authority through indirect means, and that's where you come in. The smear campaign begins in the usual way, whispers and rumors. It starts at the dinner parties, circulates through the forums, and is amplified in the bathhouses. The story that begins to take shape is a masterpiece of political fiction. It goes something like this: General Drusus, on the eve of his campaign, had attended a dinner party where you were present. He was, the story goes, so captivated by your beauty, so utterly distracted, that his mind was not on military matters. He was enchanted, bewitched. The implication is clear: his focus was compromised, his martial spirits softened. He went to the frontier a weakened man, his thoughts on a beautiful face in Rome, rather than on the enemy in front of him. It's a ludicrous, baseless accusation, but it's brilliant in its effectiveness. It doesn't accuse Drusus of incompetence, which could be disproven with facts. It accuses him of a weakness of character, a moral failing, and it uses you as the living, breathing proof. Your famous beauty becomes the weapon. This trope, the idea of a powerful man brought low by a captivating woman, the femme fatale, is as old as storytelling itself. Roman history and mythology are full of such figures, from Cleopatra, who was said to have ensnared both Caesar and Antony, to Helen of Troy, whose face launched 1,000 ships and started a catastrophic war. Historians have long argued that these narratives are often a convenient way to shift blame, to attribute the complex failures of men in politics, in war, to the supposedly dangerous and uncontrollable power of female beauty. It's easier to blame a seductors than to analyze a failed military strategy. You are being cast in this role. You are Rome's newest Helen, the red flag woman, as they might have called you. At a party, a senator, a known ally of Marcus, says to you with a theatrical sigh, "Ugh, the face that stalls a legion. Drusus should have stayed in Rome and surrendered to you instead of facing the Germans." He means it as a compliment to your beauty and a jab at his rival, but it makes your blood run cold. The joke spreads like wildfire. You are now a political liability. Not for Marcus, for him. You are a political asset, a tool. But for everyone else, you are a symbol of disorder. You are the beautiful chaos that distracts great men from their duties. The matrons who already disliked you now look at you with a new kind of vindicated contempt. They were right all along. You are trouble. You try to defend yourself to Marcus, to tell him how unfair, how dangerous this is. He listens with a dismissive smile. "My dear," he says, "it is only politics. Words are the cheapest weapons we have. Let them talk. Your name on their lips only increases your mystique. They are not talking about you, the person. They are talking about an idea. Let it work for us." He doesn't understand, or doesn't care, that you, the person, are the one who has to bear the weight of this slander. You have to walk through the forum and see the smirks and hear the half-whispered jokes. You have to endure the cold stares of women who now see you as a walking catastrophe. You are being forced to wear a mask you did not choose, to play a part in a political drama written by ambitious men. Your beauty was once a currency, now it's a weapon being wielded by others. And like any weapon, it is dangerous to everyone, especially the person forced to carry it. The political gamesmanship surrounding the Germany in defeat has an unintended and far more sinister consequence. By casting you as a figure of almost supernatural allure, a woman capable of derailing a military campaign with a single glance, Marcus and his allies have inadvertently made you seem powerful. And in the paranoid, high-stakes world of Roman elite politics, anyone perceived to have that kind of influence becomes a target for those who prefer more permanent solutions than slander. The whispers of curses and witchcraft return, but this time they are accompanied by a new, more tangible fear: poison. Poisoning was the dark art of the Roman world, a constant, nagging fear that haunted the dinner tables of the wealthy and powerful. The historical record is rife with accusations, though concrete proof is often elusive. It was the perfect crime, in many ways subtle, deniable, and terrifyingly effective. From emperors allegedly dispatching rivals to wives accused of getting rid of inconvenient husbands, the shadow of the veneficus the poisoner loomed large. Historians debate how common it truly was, separating political propaganda from reality. But the fear itself was a potent social force. Your life, already circumscribed, now shrinks even further. Your new Egyptian maid, once just a spy, now becomes your official taster. Before you eat or drink anything, even in your own home, she must take a small bite or sip first and wait a few moments. It's a grim, nerve-wracking ritual. You watch her, your heart in your throat, not just for your own safety, but for hers. She is your human shield. And the fact that Marcus provided her for this purpose is a chilling testament to the world you now inhabit. He is not protecting you from the danger, he is merely managing it. The fear is a constant companion. At dinner parties, you only pretend to eat, moving food around your plate, praising dishes you haven't tasted. You drink only water that has been brought in a sealed amphora from your own villa. You become hyper aware of every interaction. A friendly gesture, a servant offering you a special cup of wine is a kindness or a threat. Your world becomes a matrix of potential dangers. The psychological toll is immense. You start to see shadows in every corner. The house, once a sanctuary, now feels like a fortress under siege. The beautiful Paris-style garden, with its fragrant flowers and herbs, suddenly looks like a poisoner's pantry. Longshoot, hemlock, nightshade, many common decorative plants held deadly secrets. You begin to mistrust everyone. Is Gaius resentful of Marcus's hold over you? is lycaenia jealous of the wealth you are about to marry into? Could one of the matrons, like the cold-eyed Cornelia, be desperate enough to remove you permanently? The paranoia is a poison of its own, slowly corroding your ability to trust, to relax, to live. The most terrifying moment comes not with a bang, but with a quiet observation. One evening, your servant, the loyal man who has been with you from the beginning, is tidying your rooms. He picks up a small, decorative vial of perfume that was left as a gift by a visitor you barely remember. He uncorks it to smell it, then frowns. He carries it over to the oil lamp, his expression troubled. "This scent," he murmurs. "It has a bitter almond smell underneath the jasmine." Bitter almonds, the telltale scent of cyanide, a poison known, if not fully understood, in the ancient world. He doesn't make a scene. He simply takes the vial, and later that night, you see him from your window, burying it deep in the earth at the far end of the garden. He never speaks of it again, but you both know an attempt was likely made. A subtle, deniable attempt. The perfume was probably intended for you to dab on your skin, where the poison could be slowly absorbed. It was not a fast-acting dose meant for a taster to catch, but a slow, creeping death that would be dismissed as a sudden fever or a wasting sickness. Who sent it, you will never know. That is the true horror of it. The enemy is faceless. It could be a political rival of Marcus, trying to hurt him by eliminating his prized new asset. It could be the embittered General Drusus or one of his supporters, seeking revenge for the slander against his name. It could be a jealous woman from the aristocratic circles you now move in. It could be anyone. You are no longer just a social climber or a political pawn. You are a liability in a deadly game. Your beauty has made you so conspicuous that you have become the logical point of attack for anyone wanting to disrupt the new power dynamic you represent. You are trapped in a golden cage, and you now realize that someone is trying to poison the beautiful nightingale inside. The close call with the poison perfume changes something in you. The external threats, the whispers, the political maneuvering, the physical danger are now matched by a new internal enemy, the terror of losing the very thing that has caused all this trouble. You become obsessed with the preservation of your beauty because you understand, with a terrifying clarity, that your value, and therefore your safety, is tied directly to it. In the world you inhabit, aging is not a natural process. It is a form of social death. Your morning ritual, once a chore, becomes a frantic, defensive campaign against time. You spend hours examining your reflection in a polished bronze mirror, searching for the slightest sign of decay. The new line around your eyes, a subtle loss of firmness in your skin. A single gray hair each is a tiny death knell, a harbinger of your eventual obsolescence. The irony is crushing. You are fighting to maintain the very feature that is the source of your misery. This obsession leads you down the rabbit hole of elite Roman anti-aging remedies, a world of folk medicine, expensive quackery, and genuinely hazardous treatments. Your Egyptian maid, loyal to Marcus's command to keep you in perfect condition, becomes your supplier, sourcing rare and exotic ingredients from the city's bustling markets. You start with the topical treatments. You slather your face in masks made of honey and ass's milk, a luxury famously associated with Cleopatra, and later with Poppaea Sabina, the wife of Emperor Nero, who was said to travel with a herd of donkeys just to ensure her daily bath. You try creams made from goose fat, sheep's wool, lanol, and no Isai plum, and even the marrow of deer. The concoctions are often greasy, smelly, and of dubious effectiveness, but the belief in their power is fueled by desperation. When the creams and masks don't seem to be enough to halt the imaginary decline you perceive, you turn to more extreme measures. You hear whispers of a beauty treatment involving crocodile dung, which was apparently mixed with mud and used as a face pack. The idea is repulsive, but you consider it for a fleeting, desperate moment. This is a real practice mentioned by ancient sources, though historians still debate if it was a fringe treatment or a more widespread luxury fad. To you, it just represents a new low in the desperate war against nature. The real danger, however, comes from the things you are tempted to ingest. There are potions sold by shady dealers in the sub-URA, Rome's crowded and unruly downtown district, promising to restore youthful vigor. They are often mixtures of herbs and wine, but some contain far more dangerous ingredients, trace amounts of heavy metals like lead or mercury, which might give a temporary glow to the skin while slowly poisoning you from the inside. Your servant, ever watchful, intercepts one of these vials before you can use it, pointing out the metallic sheen at the bottom. The psychological pressure is relentless. The matrons you see at parties are engaged in the same silent, desperate battle. You see the thick layers of lead powder on their faces, the unnaturally black dye on their hair, the rigid smiles that are afraid to crease their carefully plastered skin. They are all running from the same enemy. In a society where a woman's power was so often tied to her connections through marriage, losing her physical appeal could mean losing her husband's interest, and with it, her influence and security. You feel a strange, hollow pity for them, and for yourself. You are all trapped in the same absurd, unwinnable arms race. You are spending a fortune, risking your health, and dedicating hours of your day to conforming to an impossible ideal. An ideal that you, more than anyone, are supposed to embody effortlessly. The pressure comes from Marcus as well, though he never says it directly. His compliments are always about your appearance. You are as radiant as the day I first saw you, he'll say, his eyes scanning you for any imperfection. The unspoken message is clear: stay that way. Your value to him is aesthetic. You are the perfect marble statue at the entrance to his villa. A statue is not supposed to get cracks. This constant, gnawing anxiety is perhaps the most insidious poison of all. It isolates you, turns you inward, and makes you your own harshest critic. You are no longer just a victim of Rome's obsession with beauty. You are an active participant in it, a soldier in its service. You fight a daily battle on behalf of the very system that is destroying you, terrified of what will happen on the day you inevitably lose. The cumulative weight of the fear, the paranoia, and the relentless pressure to remain perfect becomes unbearable. The city of Rome, once a symbol of opportunity, now feels like a cage of suffocating heat and watchful eyes. You begin to feel a deep, visceral need to escape, if only for a little while. You plead with Marcus, citing exhaustion and ill health, and he, seeing the very real strain on his investment, agrees. The villa in Tivoli, his grand gift of possession, is to become your temporary sanctuary. You journey there with a small retinue, leaving the noise and the politics of the city behind. As the carriage climbs into the Sabine Hills, the air grows cooler and cleaner. The urban clamor is replaced by the chirping of cicadas and the rustle of wind in the cypress trees. When you arrive at the villa, a profound sense of relief washes over you. Here, behind the high walls of your private estate, surely you can find some peace. For the first few days, it feels like a dream. You spend your time in the peristyle garden, listening to the splash of the fountain and the song of the caged nightingale. You read scrolls of poetry and history, trying to lose yourself in worlds other than your own. You walk through your vineyard, inspecting the ripening grapes, feeling the sun on your skin without the accompanying dread of being watched. You tell yourself that this is real, that this tranquility is yours. But the illusion is fragile. Rome is not just a place, it's a system, and its tentacles are long. Marcus sends daily messengers from the city, carrying letters filled with society gossip, political updates, and subtle reminders of his expectations. He is allowing you this rest, but he wants to ensure you don't forget who you belong to. His presence haunts the villa, a ghost in the machine. Then, your neighbors come to call. The hills around Tivoli are dotted with the luxurious retreats of Rome's wealthiest citizens. They are the same people you were trying to escape. A senator whose estate borders yours invites you for a simple country lunch, which turns out to be a multi-course banquet with 20 guests, all dissecting the latest scandals from the capital. A wealthy matron, Cornelia, the same one who treated you with such disdain in the city, is vacationing nearby. She arranges to bump into you during a walk, her face a mask of false sympathy. "My dear," she coos, "you look so tired. The city can be draining, but one must keep up appearances. Mustn't one the same power games, the same veiled insults, have followed you into your supposed refuge? You realize with a sinking heart that you haven't escaped anything. You've just relocated the stage. The villa is not a sanctuary. It's an extension of the Roman social battlefield, just with better scenery. The very things that make it luxurious, its size, its location, its fame as Marcus's gift, also make it a focal point. You are a tourist attraction, the lady of the famous villa, and privacy is a commodity you do not possess." The final, crushing blow to your fantasy of escape comes in the form of a request from Marcus. A very important delegation of merchants from Gaul is visiting Rome. Marcus needs to impress them, to secure a lucrative contract for supplying the army. He asks you to host a grand dinner for them at the Tivoli Villa. It is not a question. He wants to use the villa, and you, as a backdrop for his business dealings. He wants to show off his beautiful fiancée and his magnificent country estate to all these provincial merchants. The staff of the villa, loyal to Marcus, immediately spring into action, preparing for the event. Your quiet retreat is transformed into a bustling hub of activity. Cooks, extra servants, and entertainers arrive from Rome. The peace is shattered. You are to be the hostess, the smiling, beautiful centerpiece of a transaction. It is in this moment that the full nature of your gilded cage becomes clear. It has bars made of marble and gold, and it is located in a beautiful landscape. But it is a cage nonetheless. There is no outside. The world of Roman power and ambition is all-encompassing. Historians often speak of the Roman concept of otium, or leisure, as a cherished ideal for the elite, a time for intellectual pursuits and restorative peace in their country villas. But for you, otium is a fiction. Your leisure is not your own. Your home is not your own. Your solitude is not your own. You came to the country seeking anonymity and found only a more isolated, more beautiful stage. The realization leaves you feeling more trapped and more hopeless than ever before. The night of the dinner for the Gallic merchants is a performance. You play your part perfectly, smiling, directing the servants, and exuding an air of effortless grace as Marcus holds court. But inside, you feel hollowed out, a beautiful, empty vessel, after the last guest has departed, leaving behind the detritus of the feast and the lingering smell of spilled wine. You feel a desperate need for air. You slip out of the main house and walk towards the darkest part of the garden, a small, neglected olive grove at the edge of the property. It is there, sitting on a low stone wall under the gnarled branches of an ancient tree, that you find him. He is an old man, dressed in a simple, rough spun tunic that marks him as a man of no particular wealth or status. You've seen him around the villa before, working quietly with the gardeners, but you had assumed he was just one of the senior slaves. He is looking up at the vast, star-dusted sky, his face calm and thoughtful. He turns as you approach, his expression showing no surprise, only a quiet curiosity. "The stars are indifferent to the troubles of merchants, aren't they?" he says, his voice raspy but kind. It is the first time anyone has spoken to you in weeks without an agenda. You sink down onto the wall a short distance from him, too exhausted to be concerned with propriety. Or that you ask, "Sometimes I feel the whole universe is watching and judging." He lets out a soft chuckle. The universe is busy. It is only men who are so needlessly occupied with the affairs of others. He introduces himself as Lucius. He is not a slave, but a philosopher. Marcus had hired him for a pittance to tutor his young nephew, but he stays on at the villa, preferring the quiet of the country. He is a follower of the Stoa, a student of the teachings of Zeno and Epictetus. You've heard of the Stoics. They are the philosophers who preach virtue, reason, and a kind of grim self-sufficiency. They are popular with many Roman aristocrats, who find their emphasis on duty and endurance to be a good fit with their own self-image. But you had always imagined them to be stern, joyless men. This man is different. There is a gentleness in his eyes. Over the next few days, you seek him out. You talk for hours in the quiet corners of the villa. He doesn't offer you easy comfort or false hope. Instead, he offers you a framework for survival. He speaks of the things that are within our control and the things that are not. Your beauty, he tells you one afternoon, is not truly in your control. It is an indifferent. It is like wealth or health or status. It is preferred, yes, but it has no bearing on your virtue, on your true worth as a human being. It is the use you make of it that matters. This is a revolutionary idea. You have spent your entire life being defined by an external quality. He is telling you to look inward. He teaches you about the inner citadel, a fortress of the mind that no one, not Marcus, not the emperor, not the gossiping matrons can ever breach. Your thoughts, your judgments, your character, these are the only things you truly own. He speaks of negative visualization premedit ideomalorang, the practice of imagining the worst case scenarios. What if you lose your beauty? What if Marcus casts you aside? What if you are exiled by contemplating these possibilities? He explains, you rob them of their terror. You can prepare your mind for them, and realize that even in the worst of circumstances, your inner self, your reason, can remain untouched. One evening, he points to your caged nightingale. That bird, he says, it is in a cage. That is its fate, outside of its control, but it can still choose to sing. Its song is its own. You are in a cage, my child, a very beautiful one, but a cage nonetheless. What will be your song? This question strikes you with the force of a physical blow. You have been so focused on the cage, the politics, the danger, the expectations that you have forgotten about your own inner life. You have let the outside world dictate your every feeling. The philosopher's teachings don't offer you an escape route. He doesn't have a plan to spirit you away from Marcus. The Stoic path isn't about changing your circumstances, it's about changing your relationship to them. It is a philosophy for enduring the unendurable. Historians often note the appeal of Stoicism in the turbulent and oft unbrutal world of the Roman Empire. It provided an ethical and psychological toolkit for navigating a world of absolute power and sudden reversals of fortune. For many, it was not an abstract intellectual exercise, it was a manual for survival. Lucius's words are a lifeline. They don't remove the danger, but they give you a sliver of ground to stand on, a place in your own mind. That is yours and yours alone. He is teaching you how to build a shelter in the middle of a hurricane. For the first time since coming to Rome, you feel a flicker of something that is not fear or anxiety, but a quiet, resilient strength. You are still a prisoner, but he has just handed you the key to a different kind of freedom, the freedom of the mind. Armed with the fragile shield of your new, found Stoic principles, you return to Rome with Marcus. The city is the same. The dangers are the same, but something inside you has shifted. You are learning to observe the drama rather than be consumed by it. You are a player on the stage, but you are also, now, a part of the audience. This new perspective, this inner distance, is what allows you to spot the hand of an ally when it is extended from the most unexpected of places. The ally is Cornelia, the cold-eyed matron who had been your most consistent and sophisticated tormentor. She was the queen of the backhanded compliment, the master of the exclusionary whisper. You had always seen her as the embodiment of the jealous Roman elite, but you had been seeing the surface, not the story. The moment of revelation comes at yet another stiflingly formal dinner party. You are seated, as usual, in a place of honor next to Marcus. Across the room, you see Cornelia's husband, abortion-derogant senator, publicly humiliating her. He mocks her choice of jewelry, criticizes the education of their son, and tells a joke that hinges on her supposed intellectual inferiority. He does it all with a casual cruelty that suggests it is a common occurrence. Cornelia endures it with a face of perfect, frozen marble, her expression unreadable. But for the first time, you are not looking at her with fear or resentment. You are looking at her with the philosopher Lucius's eyes. You see past the powerful matron to the woman trapped in her own gilded cage. Later in the evening, you find yourself alone with her for a moment near a fountain in the garden. The usual tension is absent. She looks at you, and her mask of aristocratic indifference finally cracks. "You think I hate you for your beauty," she says, her voice a low, bitter whisper. "It's not a question. I don't. I hate you because you are a mirror. You are the woman my husband, and all of them, think they deserve. Young, perfect, pliable." She takes a shaky breath. "I was you. Once, not as beautiful, perhaps, but I was the prize. I brought a huge dowry and a powerful family name. And for a few years, it was enough. The prizes get old. They get replaced. Now, I am just the manager of his household, the mother of his heir. An obstacle. It is a confession of breathtaking honesty, a glimpse into the brutal reality of her life. She is not your enemy. She is a veteran of the same war you are just beginning to fight. Her hostility was never about you personally. It was the desperate, lashing out anger of a prisoner who sees anew, naive inmate being led to the cell next to her. From that night on, something changes between you. A silent, unspoken alliance is formed. It is an alliance of shared survival. She begins to help you in small, subtle ways. She will steer you away from a senator who has had too much wine and is becoming aggressive. She will, in the middle of a conversation, casually mention a book of Greek philosophy she is reading. A subtle signal to you, a nod to your shared, hidden language of endurance. She teaches you the art of strategic retreat, of making yourself seem boring and non-threatening when necessary. Her most crucial intervention comes when a new rumor begins to circulate that you have been using your influence with Marcus to secretly aid his rival, General Drusus, out of some misplaced pity. It's a poisonous, nonsensical lie, designed to make you appear treacherous to Marcus himself. Before the rumor can gain traction, Cornelia acts. At a large gathering, she loudly and authoritatively declares the story to be absurd, tracing its origins to a rival family known for their unreliable gossip. She kills the rumor with the sheer force of her social credibility. No one would dare question the word of Cornelia on a matter of social slander. She is the expert. Why does she help you? Perhaps it is a form of belated self-respect. By protecting you, she is, in a small way, protecting the memory of the young woman she once was. Perhaps it is the strategic move. You are rising power as Marcus's future wife, and it is better to have you as an ally than an enemy. Or perhaps, in the lonely, competitive world of the Roman matrons, she has simply recognized a kindred spirit. The true reason is something historians could debate endlessly. Another example of the complex personal motivations that doctor history. For you, the reason doesn't matter. What matters is that you are no longer entirely alone. You have found an ally in the heart of the enemy camp. She is not a friend in the modern sense. Your relationship is not built on warmth and affection. It is a grim, pragmatic partnership forged in a crucible of shared suffering. But in this world of shifting alliances and constant danger, her support is more valuable than any jewel Marcus could ever give you. Your alliance with Cornelia, combined with Lucius the philosopher's teachings, arms you with a new set of skills. You cannot escape your situation, but you can learn to navigate it with more intelligence and less raw fear. You begin a conscious and deliberate campaign to manage your own public image, to turn down the volume of your dangerous beauty from a deafening roar to a manageable hum. You start to practice the art of strategic invisibility. It's a delicate balancing act. You cannot simply start appearing in public looking disheveled. That would insult Marcus and signal that his prize is losing its luster. The goal is not to become ugly, but to become appropriate, tasteful, less dazzlingly conspicuous, and more soberly elegant. You have to transition from being a spectacle to being simply a part of the scenery. Your first step is to change your wardrobe. You put away the brilliant, whitened, vibrant, eye-catching colors, working with a trusted seamstress recommended by Cornelia. You commission a new set of stole, as in more muted, respectable shades: deep indigo, soft gray, earthy terracotta, and the dark, rich purple that signifies wealth without screaming for attention. The fabrics are still of the highest quality, but the overall effect is less that of a rare, exotic bird and more that of a dignified senatorial wife. Next, you tackle your most famous in trouble. Some feature your hair. You can't change its color, but you can change how you present it. Instead of wearing it down or in simple styles that emphasize its darling blonde or reddish hue, you begin to adopt the complex, severe braided hairstyles favored by the most powerful matrons, like Livia, the first empress. These styles, which require the help of a skilled or not rigs, pull the hair back tightly from the face and coil it into an intricate, almost architectural, bun at the back of the head. It's a style that signals seriousness, modesty, and maturity. It hides the very quality, the flowing, unusual color that had caused so much trouble. You adjust your makeup routine. The kohl liner becomes a little thinner, the touch of reed ochre on your cheeks a little more subtle. The goal is to look healthy and well-groomed, not stunningly, unnaturally perfect. You abandon the fashionable but frivolous beauty patches altogether. You also change your demeanor. In public, you cultivate an air of serene, almost boring, gravity. You speak less. When you do speak, you confine your conversation to safe, domestic topics: the management of the villa, the price of good olive oil, the health of children. You listen intently to the older senators, your head tilted in a gesture of respectful attention. You are consciously making yourself less interesting. This is a strange, counterintuitive kind of performance. You are expending a great deal of effort to seem less effortful, less remarkable. It is, in its own way, a more complex and demanding role than simply being beautiful. Marcus is the first to notice. You look very distinguished, my dear, he says one evening, a slight note of confusion in his voice. Very much the Roman matron. He isn't sure if he likes it. The wild, exotic beauty he was first drawn to is being tamed, but he cannot object, because you are molding yourself into the perfect, respectable wife for an ambitious politician. You are becoming a more useful asset, even if you are a less dazzling one. To complain would be to admit he preferred the scandal-attracting version of you, which would be politically unwise. He is trapped by your performance of respectability. The effects are gradual but noticeable. The stares you attract in public are less intense, more respectful. The whispers don't stop entirely, but their subject matter changes. They are no longer about your bewitching beauty, but about your admirable transformation into a proper lady. The other matrons, following Cornelia's lead, begin to accept you into their circle with a little less hostility. You are no longer a rival, a disruptive force. You are becoming one of them. This process is a kind of erasure. You are carefully, deliberately sanding down the sharp, unique edges of your personality and appearance to fit into a pre-approved mold. It's a sad, quiet form of surrender. Historians can study the evolution of Roman portraiture and see this same trend, the shift from the sometimes brutally realistic portraits of the Republic to the more idealized, classicizing, and uniform styles of the Empire. You are, in your own small way, living out that historical shift. You are sacrificing individuality for a safe, collective identity. Lucius the philosopher would say you are merely treating your appearance as the indifferent it is, shaping it to serve the rational purpose of survival. But in your heart, you know there is a loss. You have learned the art of hiding in plain sight, of being invisible while being looked at by everyone. It is a vital survival skill, but the peace it buys you feels like a quiet defeat. Your carefully constructed world of respectable, muted elegance is shattered by the one force that can tear through any Roman defense of full-blown political scandal. Your fiancé, Marcus, in his relentless climb to the top, finally overreaches. He becomes entangled in a conspiracy against a powerful court favorite, a close advisor to the emperor himself. The conspiracy is discovered, and the fallout is swift, brutal, and absolute. The news breaks across the city like a summer thunderstorm. One day, Marcus is one of the most powerful men in Rome. The next, he is declared an enemy of the state. His properties are seized, his allies scattered like rats from a flooding sewer, and he is sentenced to exile, a fate many consider a mercy, as the alternative would have been a quiet, state-sanctioned execution. You are at the Tivoli Villa when the Praetorian Guard arrives. They are not there for you. Not yet. They are there to take possession of the property in the name of the state. The steward, loyal to the last, informs you with a pale, trembling face. You are given a few hours to gather your personal belongings and leave. The villa, the symbol of your gilded cage, is being dismantled around you. Suddenly, you are nothing, less than nothing. You are the fiancé of a traitor. The taint of his disgrace covers you like a shroud. Your carefully cultivated respectability is meaningless. Your beauty is now a liability of a different kind that makes you recognizable. The famous face associated with a fallen man. Every courtesy you were shown, every bit of deference, evaporates overnight. You are no longer a prize to be won. You are a piece of wreckage from a ship that has just smashed against the rocks. You flee back to Rome, not to the grand domus of your relatives Gaius and Icenia, but to the cramped, humble lodging of your faithful old servant in a noisy, crowded apartment block in Insula in one of the city's poorer districts. Gaius and Icenia have sent a frantic message they love you dearly, of course, but it would be unwise for you to be seen with them. They have cut you off completely to save their own skins. It is the Roman way. You are now in the heart of the Rome you never knew. The Rome of the common people. The air smells of cooking fires, damp laundry, and poverty. The noise is incessant. You are stripped of your fine clothes. Your servants except for the one who has chosen to stay with you out of a loyalty that shames the aristocracy. In your status, you are a refugee in the city that once worshipped you. The danger now is acute and unpredictable. In the Senate, scores are being settled. Anyone ever associated with Marcus is being investigated, watched, or quietly removed. You are a loose end. You know things. You attended the dinner parties where plots were hatched. You heard the treasonous whispers. You might be called as a witness, or you might be silenced before you can speak. It is Cornelia who saves you. Your alliance, forged in the quiet gardens of the elite, now pays its dividend in the squalor of the slums. A message arrives, delivered by a street urchin who vanishes as soon as he hands you the small, unmarked scroll. The message is simple and terrifying. They are looking for you. Disappear. Cornelia has taken an immense risk. If her communication with you were discovered, she and her family would be implicated in the scandal. Why she does it is, again, a mystery. Perhaps it's a final act of defiance against the brutal system that has trapped her, too. Perhaps it is a gesture of true, unexpected friendship. Or perhaps she is simply tying up her own loose end, ensuring that your testimony could never be used against her or her husband, who may have flirted with Marcus's conspiracy before wisely backing away. The motivation is unknowable, a secret that will be buried with her. Disappear. How do you disappear in a city of 1 million people when your face has been on cameos and mosaics? You have only one option to destroy the very thing that has defined you. You take a knife and hack off your famous, beautiful hair, letting the blonde or reed locks fall to the dirty floor in a heap. You rub soot and dirt onto your face, obscuring your pale skin. You trade your last good tunic for the rough, shapeless brown robe of a peasant woman. You look into a shard of a broken mirror, and for the first time, the person staring back is a stranger. The famous beauty is gone, replaced by a frightened, anonymous woman with cropped hair and haunted eyes. You have completed the final act of Erasur. You have killed your own legend. Now, all you have to do is survive its ghost. The city that had once been your stage is now a labyrinth. Every street corner is a potential threat. Every passing legionary a possible agent of the state sent to find you. You live in the shadows, moving only at dusk and dawn, your face partially hidden by a rough woolen cloak. Your old servant, using his lifelong knowledge of the city's underbelly, secures you passage out of Rome. It's not on a comfortable carriage or a swift ship, but hidden in the back of a stinking fish cart heading south along the coast. The journey is miserable, but every jolt of the cart, every mile it puts between you and the capital, feels like a step towards salvation. You eventually find yourself in a small, forgotten fishing village on the coast of Campania, a place so insignificant it barely registers on the maps. The sea air is thick with salt and the smell of drying nets. The people are poor, sun-beaten, and taciturn, their lives governed by the tides and the seasons, not by the distant, feverish politics of Rome. Here, your anonymity is your shield. No one knows your face. No one cares about your past. You are just another refugee, another piece of human flotsam washed up on their shore. Your old servant, his duty finally done, leaves you with the last of your money and a promise to send word if the political climate ever changes. You are truly alone for the first time in your life, and you are faced with a choice, the most fundamental one you have ever had to make. The storm in Rome will eventually pass. The emperor's purge will run its course. With your beauty and your connections, even tarnished as they are, you could, with time and the immense risk, try to claw your way back. You could find a new patron. You could use the story of your persecution to gain sympathy. You could leverage the legend of your face, which is surely not entirely forgotten, to re-enter the game. The path to power is not entirely closed. It would be a life of constant struggle, of looking over your shoulder, that it would be a return to the world you know, a world of influence, comfort, and importance. The alternative is to accept this new reality, to embrace the Erasur, to let the beautiful woman from Rome die completely and be reborn as someone else, a simple village woman. It would be a life of hardship, of mending nets and cleaning fish, of living in a humble hut with a dirt floor. There would be a life devoid of luxury, of intellectual stimulation, of everything you were raised to value. It would be a life of profound, crushing obscurity, but it would also be a life of peace, a life where no one stares, a life where your worth is not measured by the shape of your nose or the color of your hair, but by the strength of your hands and the resilience of your spirit. A life where you are not a symbol, a pawn, or a prize, but simply a person. A life without fear. You stand on the dark, windswept beach, the waves crashing on the shore, and you weigh the two futures in your mind. Power or peace, the gilded cage or the open, empty sky. It is the ultimate question that has haunted your journey. Is it better to be a nightingale in a golden cage, admired by all but living in constant terror, or a common sparrow, unnoticed but free to fly? This choice is the culmination of everything you have learned. From the Stoic philosopher, you learned the value of the inner citadel. From Cornelia, you learned the price of power. From the daggers of poison in politics, you learned the fragility of a life built on appearances. You think of the portrait of yourself that hung in Gaius's house, the serene, perfect, beautiful eye. That woman would have chosen power. She would have schemed and fought her way back to the top. But you are not her anymore. You have seen the true cost of what she represents. As the sun rises over the sea, casting a silver light on the water, you make your decision. You turn your back on the road that leads back to Rome. You walk towards the small, huddled village, towards a life of anonymity and hard work. You choose peace. It is a choice born not of weakness, but of a profound and hard-won strength. You are finally claiming the one thing that no one can give you or take away, the ownership of your own quiet life. Years bleed into one another, measured not by political scandals or changing fashions, but by the rhythm of the tides and the passing of the seasons. You learn the hard, practical trades of the village. You learn to mend nets. Your fingers, once soft and smooth, becoming calloused and nimble. You learn to read the weather in the clouds, to know when a storm is coming. You learn to salt fish for preservation, the sharp, pungent smell clinging to your clothes and hair. You are no longer the fair-haired woman, you are simply the woman from the north, a quiet, capable figure in the life of the village. Your new kind of beauty is one of competence. The villagers respect you not for your face, but for your resilience. They see the quickness of your hands as you work, the sturdiness in your posture as you haul a basket of fish from the boats. You earn your place not through charm or appearance, but through shared labor and mutual reliance. For the first time, you feel a sense of belonging that is not transactional, a community built on the simple, brutal realities of survival. You live in a small, whitewashed hut overlooking the sea. It is sparse, with little more than a bed, a table, and a hearth for cooking, but it is yours. The view from your doorway is not of a manicured garden with a caged bird, but of the vast, ever-changing expanse of the Tyrrhenian Sea. The only music is the cry of gulls and the crash of waves on the shore. It is a simple, almost monastic existence. In the quiet evenings, you practice the lessons of Lucius the philosopher. You have few material possessions, so you learn to find richness in the non-material world. You watch the sunset paint the sky in colors more vibrant than any silk garment. You find beauty in the intricate patterns of a seashell, the strength of a gnarled olive tree clinging to the cliffside. You are discovering a new aesthetic, one based not on human vanity, but on the raw, unadorned beauty of the natural world. This is a beauty that does not demand anything from you. It does not judge you, it simply is. You think, sometimes, of the woman you were. It feels like a story you once read about someone else. The beautiful girl in the Roman Domus, the object of desire and hatred, the pawn in a deadly game. She is a ghost. You feel a sense of pity for her fear and her loneliness. You realize that in all your time in Rome, surrounded by people, you were profoundly alone. Here, in this isolated village, in your solitude, you feel connected to the sea, to the earth, to the simple, cyclical nature of life and death. There are still moments of fear. A Roman patrol riding along the coast might send a jolt of panic through you, but they pass by without a glance. In your rough, sun-darkened skin and simple clothes, you are invisible to them. You are no one they are looking for. One day, a trader's boat puts into the harbor. The sailors bring news from Rome. The emperor is dead. A new one has taken his place. The name of your former fiancé, Marcus, is mentioned in passing. He died in exile, a forgotten man. Cornelia's husband was implicated in a later plot and forced to take his own life. Cornelia herself, she survived, as he knew she would, a formidable matriarch to the very end, managing her family's diminished fortunes with grim determination. Hearing the names is like listening to a report from a distant, war-torn country you once visited long ago. It has no power over you anymore. This quiet, anonymous existence is a topic historians can rarely write about, as it leaves so few records. History is written about the great and the powerful, the beautiful and the scandalous, the lives of the millions of ordinary people. The fishermen, the farmers, the artisans are largely silent. You have willingly stepped out of the pages of history and into that vast, unwritten silence. You have traded a place in the story for a chance at a life. You are no longer defined by how others see you. You are defined by what you do, by the small, meaningful actions of your day. You are not a reflection in a polished mirror or a face in a painting. You are a woman on a beach, her back to the world, looking out at the endless sea. And in that anonymity, you have finally found a beauty that is real and lasting and entirely your own. Decades pass. The sun and the sea have carved new lines on your face. Lines of laughter, of squinting into the sun, of worry over a late fishing boat. Your hair, once your most celebrated undangerous feature, is now short, practical, and shot through with the silver of sea foam. You are an old woman, one of the village elders, known for your quiet wisdom and your skill in mending even the most impossibly torn nets. The children of the village gather at your feet to hear stories, not of Rome, but of the sea, of the wily octopus and the foolish dolphin tales you invent from the depths of your own imagination. Your life has been a long, slow lesson in the art of letting go. You have let go of ambition, of vanity, of fear, and finally, of the memory of Rome itself. It has faded into a dream, a half-remembered myth. One day, a young couple arrives in the village. They are from the city, well-dressed and out of place. A scholar and his new wife on a journey to see the famous Greek temples further south. They are full of the restless energy and intellectual arrogance of the capital. They seek you out, having heard you are the oldest resident, a living piece of local history. They sit with you outside your hut, and the young man asks you questions about the village, about its history, its old gods, its forgotten traditions. You answer in your simple, direct way. The young woman, however, says little. She just stares at you, a strange, intense look on her face. Finally, as they are about to leave, she speaks. "Forgive me," she says, her voice hesitant. "But there is an old story my grandmother used to tell me, a legend from the time of the last emperor, about a woman in Rome of such impossible beauty that she drove men to madness and politics to chaos. They said she had hair like spun golden skin like moonlight. They said she simply vanished during the Great Purges. No one ever knew what happened to her. She became a cautionary tale, a ghost story they tell to young, ambitious girls." She pauses, her eyes fixed on your weathered face. "It's foolish, I know. You have a look in your eyes, a shadow of something. You look at this young, earnest woman, and you see the reflection of a life you left behind. You see the pressures she will face, the expectations she will have to navigate. For a fleeting moment, you consider telling her. You consider revealing the grand, tragic secret of your life. The story is a good one. It has drama, romance, and moral. It would make you, for a moment, the center of the world again, the beautiful woman of the legend, discovered as an old crone in a fishing village. It would be a perfect ending to the story. But the story is not your life. Your life is here. Your life is the smell of the salt, the cry of the gulls, the warmth of the sun on your back. To tell the story would be to invite the ghost of that Roman woman back into your house, and you have no room for her anymore. You give the young woman a small, mysterious smile. A ghost story, you say, your voice raspy with age. That is all it is, my dear. A story to frighten children. In the end, we all just live the life we are given. Now, you must go. The tide is turning." They leave, puzzled and a little disappointed. You watch them walk away, back towards the world of ambition and intrigue, of politics and power. You feel a wave of pity for them, and for all the people still trapped in that game. You turn back to your work, picking up a wooden needle to mend a net. The legend of your beauty will live on in Rome. A distorted, exaggerated tale told in whispers. It will become a footnote in a history book, a subject of academic debate. Whatever happened to her, they might ask. Was she even real? The historians will never know the answer, because the answer is not in a scroll or a ruin. The answer is here, in the quiet, steady movement of your hands, in the peaceful rhythm of an ordinary life, lived well and truly, far from the spotlight's dangerous glare. You are the secret history, the untold story, the final, silent sigh of a legend who chose to live instead of being remembered. The story is over now. The last of its words have settled. Like dust motes in a final ray of evening sun, the journey through the crowded streets of Rome, through its sun-drenched gardens and its shadowed alleyways, has come to a gentle end. The fears and the ambitions that once felt so sharp and so urgent have softened, fading into the quiet hum of a distant memory. You can feel the weight of it all lifting, the tension releasing from your shoulders, leaving behind only a profound sense of peace, as vast and as calm as the sea at dusk. Imagine the quiet fishing village. You can almost hear the gentle, rhythmic shush of the waves, a sound that has no beginning and no end. It's the breath of the world, steady and slow. Feel the cool, salty air on your skin, a clean and simple sensation. The story has dissolved into the landscape. Then you are there, not as a spectator anymore, but as part of the stillness. Your own breathing begins to match the rhythm of those waves, a slow, easy tide of inhales and exhales. The details of the day begin to blur, the sharp edges of your thoughts softening, becoming as smooth as stones tumbled by the sea for 1,000 years. You are drifting now, in that peaceful space between vacationals and dream, a safe harbor where all is quiet and all is well. The end of the article. Good night.